Hi friends, welcome to the FibreBound Podcast. This is episode 18. It has been such a long time since I sat down to record and speak with you, and I have no idea where the last 2 months have gone. The last time I spoke with you, it was February, and we are now approaching the end of April. 2022 seems to have started off at full speed, and the weeks just seem to be disappearing very, very fast. But I'm here now, I've set up, I've tried to sort out some of my things to show you today, and I am looking forward to having a catch up with you, having a beverage with you. I am drinking a coffee today. This is predominantly a knitting podcast. I have a lot to show you today, and I'm looking forward to sharing everything with you that I've been making and accumulating. If you are a new viewer, welcome. And if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. I'm so glad that you have chosen to spend your valuable time with me today. You can find me on Instagram as FibreBound, and I'm also on Ravelry as Alipay. So if you'd like to keep in more regular contact with me, I do recommend Instagram. I am on there a lot more often than I seem to be getting onto YouTube at the moment. I'll have all the links to everything I talk about down in the description bar below, or to the left. I'm not sure. To the left of the screen. These things keep moving depending on which device you're on. I will link everything I talk about below for you. That includes links to the projects that I'll be working on, any patterns that I talk about, and any web shops that I mention as well. Before I start showing you what I've been making, I do just want to provide you a little bit of an apology from last episode. I realised after I uploaded that episode that I failed to mention one of the amazing makers that was shown in that episode. So you may recall the Cozy Comfort Throw that I showed last time. I loved knitting that project. It was such a joy to knit and such an addictive project as well. Now in the last episode, I forgot to mention that it was knit out of an advent calendar that I received in 2021. That advent calendar was put together by the very talented Susan of Ashen Eve Designs and Kathy of Whatnot. I will link their shops down below. I do believe that they are again creating an advent calendar for this year, but it may already be sold out. I think there was only one option available when I looked last time, but please do check out their web shops. They do produce some amazing things. Kathy also has a podcast on YouTube, so I do encourage you to check that out. She is a multi-crafter. She knits, she sews, she makes toys and clothes and shawls, and she designs, and it's a real joy and inspiration to watch Kathy and listen to what she's been up to each time she uploads. Now I think I've given you all of the introductions that are necessary at the start of an episode. Let's get into some of my finished objects. So my first finished object I do that a lot. They are my Desert Vista Dye Works February socks, which I hadn't quite finished when I met with you last time. I do appear to have taken the progress keeper off of them, so I can't remember exactly where I was when I showed them to you last, but this is them all complete now. Now these are knit in Desert Vista Dye Works yarn. The colourway is I'll Just Date Myself. And I adore how they turned out. You can tell I really enjoyed this project because I made the leg extra super long on this pair. I usually do a leg of about 50 or 60 rounds, and this one is more than that. I really did like knitting this colourway up very much. Now these socks are part of the 8th annual monthly sock club by Desert Vista Dye Works. I am participating in that for the 2nd year in a row, where the aim is to knit a full pair of socks or 2 shorty pairs of socks from one skein of yarn in Desert Vista Dye Works yarn. Susan from Desert Vista Dye Works is who runs this knit along, and that is her logo there. And she is super talented. The colorways are saturated and beautiful, and you have so many different options of colorways for her yarns. Now this particular pair is from the Viso base, which is a 75-25 base, and I knit this pair for myself, and when I knit them for myself it's usually a 56 stitch sock in fingering weight yarn, and I do a 2x2 rib at the cuff, and the length of that really depends on the yarn that I'm working with, the mood that I'm in, how quickly I want to just get into that rhythm of stockinette. So this particular pair has 3 stripes of the ribbing at the top. Then I knit a nice long sock tube and did a toe at the end. With my stripy socks, I like to put in a cut-in heel to make sure I'm not disrupting the sequence of the stripes. So I've done that with this pair. And the heel is basically a replication of the toe, just with a couple of extra straight rounds before the decreases start. And as you can see, I like to match my socks up. That makes me very happy when they are very matchy. And I do that by making sure that when I do my long tail cast on, I will do the slip knot at the colour change. So it gives me a nice little stripe of the previous colour before it starts the next stripe, and it makes it consistent for both socks as well, which is wonderful. Makes me very, very happy. So these are my February socks. They were a joy to knit with, to the extent that I ended up casting on the Journey socks. Now the Journey socks are by Margaret from Heidi and Lana. I think I said that right. I'll pop it on the screen if it's not quite right. And that colorway made me so happy that I decided to knit myself a pair of her Journey socks. They're little shorties in the same yarn. And I haven't worn these yet, so I can't give you a report on how I like them. They definitely fit my feet, which is very exciting. And it's a very different kind of sock construction to what I'm used to, which was a little bit of fun and very engaging actually. Now I knit these ones on double pointed needles. Who am I even? I have said in the past that I'm not a fan of double pointed needles, but I decided to give that a go with this pair of socks, and I'm so happy I did. I really enjoyed the process of knitting these with them. Wow, words. So yes, there is one size in the pattern. I ended up downsizing my needle here. So most of my socks, the previous ones I showed you, all my fingering weight socks are done by, I knit on a 2.25mm or US 1 needle, and I fluctuate between a 9-inch circular and magic loop. Dear, it's going to be one of those episodes. Yes, so I either use a 9-inch circular or magic loop to knit my socks. It really does depend on how I'm feeling that particular pair. But I will always start on the 9-inch circs and then decide halfway down the foot basically whether I'm enjoying that or not. But these ones were all done on DPNs from the cast on to the toe. Now I've woven my ends in, but I haven't cut my ends yet. I usually do that after I've washed them, just so that they get secured in there before I cut them, I guess. So I haven't washed these yet. They haven't been blocked. I don't generally block socks for myself. I only really block ones that either have a very intricate pattern that I want to show, or if they're a gift. So yes, what else can I tell you about this pattern? A lot of people have been talking about it, which is what made me, or inspired me to try these. So I saw these first, I think, on Kay's podcast, The Crazy Sock Lady, and she was really enjoying knitting these. And then Maddie and Kristen from the We Share Needles podcast have also knit these. Maddie loves them. Kristen doesn't find that the fit feels right for her. That could be because there's only one size. Now, I usually knit a 56 stitch sock, which I think I was saying earlier before I got on a tangent, on 2.25 millimeters. This is basically a 64 stitch sock on a 2.5 millimeter. So I went down a needle size to hopefully get a similar fit to what I have on a 56 stitch sock. And as I said, they fit on my foot fine. I just can't give you any feedback on how this heel sits, whether it falls down or not. But I am looking forward to wearing these, and I'll let you know in a future episode what I think about that. So that is another finished object. Now my next one, let's just work on the Desert Vista Dye Works group. My February project for the Desert Vista Dye Works monthly sock club was not a pair of socks. I decided to finally bite the bullet and knit the Musselburgh. I'm going to say it wrong. It is what it is. But it's the Musselburgh hat or Musselburgh hat by Isolde Teague. And I knit this one in the colorway Early Autumn. Again, it's Desert Vista Dye Works yarn. It's the Viso sock base, so it is 75% merino, 25% nylon. And I love how this turned out. I absolutely am so happy with it. It's a fun construction. Now I'll try it on before I show you the construction, but I've kind of made it a little bit snug so you can wear it like this, and I can't see myself, so hopefully you can. Or you can lift the brim down and have a more slouchy fit. Again, I don't know how that looks, but hopefully that gives you some indication of how that's fitting. So yeah, this was a super fun knit. Now that my hair is all over the place, I will show you how it is constructed. You've probably seen this if you've watched podcasts. A lot of people have made this hat. So the hat is actually knit like a big pickle. You start off, and I don't remember which was my start and which was my finish now, but you start with, I think it's a pinhole cast on. I'm not sure which was the beginning. They look very, very similar. So yes, you start with a pinhole cast on, and so I don't know if you can see that, and then you do some increases until you reach your desired size, and you just knit a big long tube, and then you decrease down and finish it off. And to bring the hat together, you just put one end inside the other end, like this. And again, we have the Musselburgh hat. Now, I love this colorway. I was so happy when I started knitting with this colorway that it was going to be socks. I initially set out to knit a pair of socks with this yarn, and I was away with my mum at a yarn retreat, and she sort of looked at my cuff and said, "Wow, that is such a pretty yarn. Why don't you make a hat?" And yeah, I'm easily influenced apparently. So I ripped out the cuff and I started the hat. Now again, this one was started off on DPNs. So when I did the pinhole cast on, I used double pointed needles for this. And I'm trying to remember what size needle I used. I think it was a 3mm or US 2. I think that's a US 2. I'll pop that on the screen if it's wrong. So yeah, 3mm needle, and I followed the Very Pink Knits pinhole cast on tutorial, which I will link down below for you as well. I found that explained it really nicely on DPNs, which made sense for me to use DPNs as well. And once I got to my full stitch count, where the decreases were stopping, I then moved this onto a 16-inch circular needle. I'm just trying to think. I think I may have used my little red lace Chalgu Shorty set. So it's this set, and I made a 16-inch circular needle using this set here because I don't think I have a 3mm in, well, I don't think I have a fixed 3mm needle at all. So yes, that was a lot of fun to knit, and it was such a quick, satisfying knit, and I can see many more of these in my future. I can completely understand the obsession with the Musselburgh hat. It was very fun to knit. So yes, I can wear that now, which is exciting. It's starting to cool down a little bit, which I didn't talk about the weather at the start, but maybe I'll just fill you in at the end on where we're at the moment. But that was a lot of fun. So my next Desert Vista Dye Works project, which was the April socks, and we are the 26th of April today. So I finished these in record time in the month of April. And these are my Desert Vista Dye Works monster socks. So they look a little crazy and they're huge. But what you will see is that I've marled a bunch of different colorways together to create this patterning. And I attempted to replicate it from one sock to the next. They were not knit at the same time, they were knit separately. But I'm pretty happy with how I've been able to match that up. So these ones here are again on the Viso base. It's a fingering weight base, and I decided to hold 2 strands together to knit up a DK weight sock. I followed the Crazy Sock Lady or Kay Litton's DK weight vanilla sock pattern, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. And I used the numbers to determine the sizing of this. And this is the medium size, which I think is 44 or 48 stitches. I can't remember now. And these are for my husband's birthday. So that's why they are so large and long. He always tells me that I don't quite knit his leg long enough, so I tried very hard to knit him a long leg on this pair, and he seemed quite happy with them when I gifted them to him in mid-April. And I've been able to hold on to them so that I could show you and talk to you about these before he is allowed to wear them, but he did try them on that day. Now, being a DK weight sock, I did use a 3.25mm needle, which is a US 3. And I started off again with a 9-inch circular. I just like to start off with a 9-inch circular. I find joining in the round just to be a breeze, and there's no risk of me twisting any stitches when I do it that way. I do have a tutorial on how I join or how I cast on my socks, and I might link that for you down below as well. And I knit a 2x2 rib for, I want to say around 14 rounds, but that may be incorrect. All of the details are in my project page on Ravelry. And then I held about 4 different colorways together here to marl this sock down the way that it's marled. The colorways I used for the cuff, heel and toe is the Zombody Lavender Decomp. It's a variegated one rather than a stripy one, and I held that double for the heels, toes and cuffs. So that is one colorway held double. And then I used 4 colorways throughout the sock. So we have Gradient Gourds, we have Big Bang, we have Gold Coast, and the final colorway was, it's eluding me now, I can't remember. There was a 4th colorway. I'll pop it on the screen. I'll look into my project notes, but it's definitely all on my project page. And what I did was carry the yarns. I always held 2 strands together and had the other 2 yarns on hold sort of thing and carried them up down in the inside of the sock. Now I'll show you what the inside of the sock looks like to sort of give you a bit of an idea here. So on the inside of the sock, you can see a little line there, which you can't actually feel. It doesn't add any bulk of the yarns being carried down. and I did that for both socks. So I found if I had two colors together and then the next striping sequence looked too similar to the current stripe, I would switch it out, and I kept doing that all the way throughout so that there was a bit of an even distribution of the colors throughout the sock. And I tried to limit pooling because pooling is not something that I deal well with. It's not something that I enjoy, so I'm quite happy with how it mulled and how the stripes still look like distinctive stripes down the sock, which is quite cool. And that was a super quick knit. I think I started these on about the 3rd or the 4th of April, and they were finished by the 16th, so very quick project. I ended up using around 120 grams of yarn, which again was a great way to use up some of my leftovers from Desert Vista Dye Works. Something I should probably say as well, monster socks for Desert Vista Dye Works. The concept is that 1 pair per year you can use your scraps for. So this was my 1 pair for 2022 using scraps from previous months. And you can do whatever you like. I know Elisa from 72 Stitches. She's 72 Stitches on Instagram. She is Knit All the Yarn podcast on YouTube. She knits a lot of them, but just holding one strand and striping various different balls, skeins, through a scrappy sock. I decided to just do a DK weight. My husband does like DK weight socks, and it used up a little bit more yarn, which I think is a great thing. Use up as much as we possibly can, because I find I do have a lot of leftovers when I knit socks. I use maybe 60 grams of a skein of yarn, so there's always a lot of leftovers, so it was really great to get these together, knit them up, and he will enjoy wearing them. And my final finished object is a test knit that I finished quite a few weeks ago now as well. So these are my Celaena socks. I knit these socks up as a test knit for my friend Nicole. Nicole is Prof Pearl on Instagram, and the Professor Pearl podcast as well. So these are Celaena socks. These are a DK weight sock as well. Now I used a DK weight yarn for this. It is the Yarns by the Bay. It is indeed. It's Yarns by the Bay, which is an Australian yarn dyer. And this is the Gladesville DK sock or 8-ply base. There are 225 meters per 100 grams, and it is an 85% superwash merino, 15% nylon base, which is just lovely for socks, and they were such a joy to knit up. So there's a lovely texture through there, bit of a broken rib maybe, I don't think we would call it that, no. So there's a lovely texture through there, and absolutely loved knitting on these. It's such a beautifully written pattern, and a bit of a mindless project once you get used to the pattern, and it really doesn't take long to memorize the pattern, which is great. Now, the pattern originally was written for holding a strand of sock yarn with a strand of mohair for a really cozy sit on the couch, read a book kind of vibe. And I am looking forward to knitting a pair with mohair as well. But I had this DK weight yarn on hand, and I thought I'd try it with DK weight. It is always nice to try different yarns for different patterns, and I absolutely love these. They are so great, and I can't wait to wear them. There's just some lovely colour in there. I like the way the colours have distributed so beautifully. Really happy with these. Now, being a DK weight sock, again, these were knit on a 3.25mm needle, or a US 3. For these ones, Nicole gives a few options, so something to keep in mind if you decide to make them. You can basically customize them because she gives you some choices. So for the cuff, I chose to do the 1x1 rib. The pattern is written for 2x2 as well. And then the other thing that I changed up here, and it wasn't a change, it was again a suggestion in the pattern. There were two different heel flap options or gusset pickup options. One of those. Basically, the way that the pattern is written, if you do it symmetrically, it looks unsymmetrical. And if you knit it unsymmetrically, it looks symmetrical. So actually I have done both of these slightly differently, and I'm trying to remember which one is which now. Yeah, you know, I'm not sure. I can't remember. They were a joy to knit. Absolutely such a gorgeous knit. If you're after something that's got a bit of interest but is still quite mindless, this is the pattern for you. It is wonderful. Check it out. Celaena Socks by Nicole of Professor Pearl. Now that is all for my finished objects. Whew. That is a long time to be talking about finished objects. And a lot of socks. A lot of socks. That's basically all I've had headspace to work on consistently throughout this last little bit of time. Now let's get into works in progress. So I finished my April socks quite a lot earlier than I normally finish my monthly sock. So what I did was pick up an old whip that I'm holding in this Sandy by the Lakeside bag, or By the Lakeside bag by Sandy. She has a podcast on YouTube too that I always enjoy when she uploads. And now these are, if you've been a long time viewer, you may remember these from last year. These are my string of heart socks. Now the string of hearts is a pattern designed by Maddie Hobbs of the We Share Needles podcast. And it's got a beautiful heart motif in cables there, which is really nice. And I'm still in the first sock, but I was, I think, around here when I picked these up after the last time I showed them. So I've knit almost the whole foot. I think I might have around 10 rounds to go of the foot, which is just one more repeat of the pattern. One more repeat before I do the toe. And really have enjoyed picking these up and knitting on them, especially on drives in the car when I've obviously been a passenger. Yeah, they've been really fun to pick up again. I love this yarn and this pattern. So the cuff of these socks is knit in a yarn by Lovebird Lane. And I don't know that I do have the tag. So this yarn is by Lovebird Lane. It's a merino sock base, 75% merino, 25% nylon, 463 yards or 425 meters per 100 grams. It's called Quarantine 15. It was a colorway from 2020 when we were all locked in our houses. And then the main color here, the main skein, I'll bring that nice and close to you. You can see all those beautiful colors. It's such a beautiful soft yarn. Now this one is by my friend Mel. And this is an old label of hers. She's recently branded her labels and her company name, but it was Down Under Dyer, and she is now Three Cats Yarn. And I think I'll show you in acquisitions what her new label looks like. So this is 4-ply fingering again, 75% nylon, sorry, 75% merino, 25% nylon. This is in the colorway Light Magnolia Speckle. And I love this yarn. I absolutely adore this colorway. It is absolutely stunning. Beautiful little pinks and mauves and a little bit of yellow that shines through there. It's really very pretty. So that's been fun to pick up. Now these ones I am knitting on two 16-inch circulars, 2.25mm needles, and that has been really good for this pair because there are cables in there. It gives me the space to do the cables. And I've also been doing the cables without a cable needle, which has felt like it's made this project go a little bit faster because I don't have to go find the cable needle and do that part, because there are quite a lot of cables in this. And it's definitely made me more confident with working without a cable needle to do cables, which is nice. So yeah, I should be able to get this sock finished very soon. I just haven't been anywhere this weekend where I've been the passenger. So they've sort of been stuck in the bag this weekend. But I have been really enjoying working on those. So my next work in progress is another oldie but a goodie. This project is in my beautiful bag by Patil Knits. Patil Knits is an Australian bag maker, and she makes these amazing quilted project bags that are just so beautiful. She has a great eye for the fabrics she chooses, and really beautiful bags here as well. And for this project I am using Celaena mohair. I've talked about this project before, so I won't go on and on about it. And I'm holding that double with a knit crate yarn. The knit crate yarn is FibreBound light alpaca in the colorway chestnut, and is 100% baby alpaca, 400 yards or 365 meters per 100 grams. And it is just so lovely holding these two together. The Celaena silk mohair is a 75% kid mohair, 25% silk blend, and look at that halo. It's been such a joy to work with. So I have made some progress on this before I got distracted by more recent things that I'll show you in a minute. And I finished the body and almost have a full sleeve. Almost, maybe not quite, maybe 3/4 of the way there. But this is my love note by Tin Can Knits. When I showed you this last time, I was at this progress keeper there. So I finished the body and started the sleeve. But before I started the sleeve, you may recall I had some concerns about the neckline when I spoke about this last time. Well, those concerns didn't leave me. So I did spend a weekend ripping back mohair, going back to where this neckline was started and re-knitting this part and binding it off a lot more loosely, and it's feeling much better now and much more comfortable to put on and take off. Before I did that, to put it on, I'd have to take my glasses off because it was too tight to go over my head with my glasses on. I don't have that issue now. So that is the Love Note by Tin Can Knits. And it's been put aside at the moment because there are a couple of other things that are taking up my time that I'll show you in a minute. But this sleeve was probably a weekend's worth of work, and maybe a little bit more than a weekend, maybe a week's worth of work. I can't recall. I didn't put a lot of time into this, and it grew quite quickly. Now I'm putting stitch markers here just every 10 rounds, just so I can make sure I replicate the same thing on the next sleeve when I'm ready to pick that up. This project should be long done, but we're getting there. It will happen eventually. And I am enjoying working on it when I pick it up. And it's always the way. I procrastinate on a project and then I pick it up and wonder why I haven't been working on that one. But I think it's just there are so many things that I want to make. There are so many projects that I'm keen to cast on, and it is what it is. So my next work in progress, I'm going to mix things up a bit and show you a new cast on that I haven't actually worked on in a couple of days. Oops, I'm dropping stitches. Now this next project is in a beautiful little llama / alpaca, I never know which one's which, project bag by the Woolly Tangle that I picked up last year sometime. Super cute and very nicely made. And I am using Drops Fable for this project. It's a brown, deep brown colorway. It might be coming across a little bit differently on the screen there, but it's color 300, which I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's a deep brown. I'm sure it has a name. I think drop stuff has names, but they like to put numbers on their things. And I am knitting on DPNs, which is why I'm losing stitches. I'm knitting the Killan gloves by Drops. But I have gotten to a point where I need to separate the thumb gusset stitches and put them on hold before I can continue. So I've kind of stalled on this one a little bit. Now these gloves will be for my husband. Now they're not mittens. They're gloves, so there will be 10 fingers to knit in this project. So right now I'm really not feeling that. It's something that I will have to come back to later, but I have enjoyed knitting up until this point. This yarn is actually really lovely to work with, and I am, as I said, using double pointed needles to knit this project, and I'm enjoying that as well. Now size wise, I think I'm using 2.25mm needles. I'll have to check my project page, but it is all on Ravelry. So yeah, so these are the Killan gloves. It's a free pattern by Drops, and that has, that's probably a week's worth of knitting, if that. One glove at the thumb separation. So we'll get to that when we get to that. But that has taken up some knitting time since I saw you last, so I thought I'd share that with you. And I'm glad that I finally started them as well, because I bought the yarn over a year ago and it's been sitting in this project bag for quite some time. So that's that one. And then I have 2 more things still to show you that I've actually, 3 more things that I've been working on. Okay. The next project is in this beautiful bag by the Knitting Den Shop, or my dear friend the Knitting Dentist. I love this bag. It's so pretty. And this is actually a crochet project that I have been really enjoying working on. Now I don't have any of the fresh balls in here, but I am using some yarn from Lincraft, which is 100% acrylic, because this is for a gift for someone very special to me, and I know that it'll just be easier for them to look after this if it is in acrylic. They can chuck it in the washing machine when they need to, and it's made in the Baby Soft by Maker, which is a Lincraft brand. Lincraft is an Australian equivalent to Michael's or the such or the like. So I'm using 4 colors here. I'm using those colors. Now this is called Coral Mix, Blush, no, Candy, Silver and White. They're the 4 colors I'm using for this project. And you may recall in my last episode I talked about knitting my baby niece, crocheting, sorry, my baby niece baby blanket. Well, I decided to start one for my older niece, and this is the 6-day kid blanket, and it is very, very, very wide. So this is the 6-day kid blanket by Betty McKnit, and actually she has about 5 different versions of this pattern available, and it is a free pattern on her website, but I actually bought the pattern so that I could have it in Knit Companion and follow that a little bit easier in there. And also the fact that it's the second time I'm making one of her patterns. I do like to support designers when even if they provide it for free and I'm using that pattern a lot, I rather support them and pay for it. So yes, this is actually the 6-day viral kid blanket. So eventually it will have a border around it. And yeah, I've done one colour repeat so far. So I'm about to start on the grey again. And it's just going to grow that way. Now, I'm not quite sure how long this is going to take me to crochet, but I was hoping to get it done for her birthday. It's not going to happen though, given how wide I've made it. Like that's in half there. It's taking me a little while to get through each row, and there are other projects that I'm working on as well. So it's not going to be done by June, but it will definitely be done by Christmas. So I am using a 4mm hook for this one. I'll talk about the hook very quickly. I'm using this Clover Amour hook. It's a 4mm or G hook, and I love it. I actually bought this the other day because I had been using this 4mm hook, this blue one, that I had picked up from eBay a couple of years ago, and I was having some issues with it. I felt like it was splitting the yarn every time I went to pull through. And I happened to be at my local yarn store, which is Yarn Trader, the other day. And I thought, I'm going to try getting a different 4mm hook, a different brand. And this has made a huge difference. I feel like this is just gliding through those stitches so much nicer. And I'm really enjoying working with this one. So, a little tip, I guess. Tools are important. Make sure you're enjoying what you're working with. If there's something not feeling right, maybe try something else, because I have found that this has made all the difference. And I got through that white section super fast yesterday using this hook, compared to, I felt the pink section took me a lot longer using the other hook. So that was a great purchase. And I would have shown you last time when I was making the Cozy Comfort Throw that I made up a little plan for myself on making sure I got through that project and made progress and felt like I was getting somewhere. I've done a similar thing here. I've got a little plan of how this project will look. It's going to be quite a big blanket, so it is around 60 inches wide at the moment, and then I want it to be at least 70 inches long, at least. So I have a plan, and if I was to work on it the way I was working on it the first couple of days when I started it, I may have finished it by mid-June, but the reality is that I can't keep working on this one project at that pace. There are other things that I want to work on, so I will still keep this. It'll be interesting to see how long it does actually take me to do it. There's a part of me that sees this plan here and needs to, and I have this need to keep on top and on track with this plan. So we'll see. At the moment, I'm trying not to put that pressure on myself, but my innate thing is to follow the plan and keep progressing through it. We'll see. So my next work in progress, sorry guys, 2 left to go, and I will probably, yeah, this is going to be a long one. So my next project is being housed in a new acquisition. This beautiful project bag arrived in the mail this week, and it is by the very talented and lovely Amy of Noble Character Crafts. And she has a podcast and she's on Instagram, and I'll link her down below. But I adore this bag so much. It is so beautiful. There's her label there. And I love it. Absolutely love this bag. So well made. It's got a pocket inside, and the inside fabric is a beautiful polka dot. Makes me so happy. So just before I started that blanket that I just talked about, I signed up for a test knit. And I signed up for this test knit with my beautiful friend Jane from the Mindful Making podcast. Now the name of the top may change, but this is such a lovely pattern so far. So this is currently called the Summer Breeze Tee, but it's looking to change names at some point. But it's a lace weight t-shirt design, and I am using Isaiah Trio to knit this with in the colorway Blush, which is actually coming up quite true to color on the screen as far as I can tell there. And I'm very, very happy with this yarn. This is a 50% linen, 30% cotton, 20% bamboo blend. And it is so super thin. Look at that. It's lace weight yarn. There are 350 meters to 50 grams of 50 grams here, so it's very, very fine. I have been knitting this a lot the last couple of days, and even though it doesn't look like a lot of progress, it is a lot of progress. There are a lot of stitches here, and there's not really much to see at the moment because I haven't split for the sleeves yet. I'm, I think, on the 3rd decrease, but that's it so far. It's still very small, but the yarn is knitting up really nice. I did do a gauge swatch on this one, and that gauge swatch is in here. So I did find that after washing it, this yarn does shrink a little bit in the stitch width, but then grows a little bit in the length, which I thought was quite interesting. I've not worked with a linen blend before. And it's definitely softened up after a wash as well. It starts off feeling quite stringy. I think that's a good way to describe it. It feels quite stringy. But the more you wash linen, the more it softens up. And I've washed this once and I can already feel a difference between the swatch and the actual piece. And I am knitting this on 2.5 millimeter needles, or a US 1.5. The cast on was on a 2 millimeter needle, or a US 0. So that's been an interesting experience, I guess. Teeny tiny needles, but lots and lots of stitches. And I am not new to knitting with little needles. Like, I love knitting fingering weight socks on 2.25s. That's not a problem for me at all. But there is obviously there are a lot of stitches, and we're not even anywhere near the sleeve separation yet. And this has been quite a lot of knitting already, but I am enjoying it. And I love this color, and I can't wait to see how this turns out. And this pattern should be released sometime, I want to say by early June maybe. But no, it's been an absolute joy to work on, and it's really fun to be testing for a dear friend of mine as well. So that is a lace weight tee that I'm knitting up, which is why the love note has been abandoned yet again. It'll get done eventually, but this is the priority right now. So that's been a lot of fun to knit on. And I have one more whip to show you. So my final work in progress is living in another Knitting Den shop bag. You will have seen this one before. I use it a lot. It's one of my favorites. It's very handy for purse knitting. It's a great size. A few months ago, Hobbii reached out to me and asked me if I would be interested in trying out some of their yarn. And I was very excited to oblige. So I'm knitting this yarn here, which is called Silly Socks by Hobbii. It is in the colorway 7. They do have names, but I can't remember what that is called. It's not written on the label, but the website definitely has names. I'll pop it on the screen. And this is the beautiful yarn that I'm using. It's a self-striping yarn, but the stripes are different sizes, and the repeat seems to be quite long. This is a 75-25 wool nylon blend, so it's not quite as soft as a merino blend, but it sort of reminds me of opal yarn, I guess, in terms of how it feels in my hands, and it is knitting up like a dream. I cast this sock on yesterday and took it to the cinema and knit on it in the dark, and it was such a joy to knit with. And look at the stripes. Really, really happy with how that looks. It's really, really pretty. So that is my final work in progress. I'm really enjoying this yarn. It is so much fun. And every one of these projects has been giving me a lot of joy. So yes, lots of knitting happening here. Okay, so that is all of the projects that I need to tell you about today. But one thing I do need to do today is announce our giveaway winner from last week. Last episode. I think it was more like 2 months ago. So in the last episode, I thought I would do a giveaway to celebrate reaching 2,000 subscribers on this channel. So thank you so much to those of you who have decided to subscribe and to check in with me when I upload. It means the world to me. So to give back a little bit, I have put together a little bit of a prize pack, and I will draw the winner while I'm uploading this to give everyone a chance to still put their entries in. I saw another entry come in yesterday, so I'm just leaving that open until I am editing this episode, and we'll pop the winner's details on the screen. Congratulations to the winner. I am so excited to be able to send you some goodies in the mail. So for the winner, if you could please email me at fibreboundpodcast@gmail.com. Provide me with your mailing details and I will get that shipped off for you as soon as possible. Thank you to those who have entered. It was such a joy to read all of the comments and to hear what you're obsessed about, which was the prompt for that giveaway. And I can completely relate to so many of you being obsessed by knitting, a yarn, socks. Pretty much everything you said is things that I'm feeling. So it's been really fun to read those comments from you. Thank you so much for entering and for your time. Now I've got a few acquisitions for you as well. There's a few acquisitions. I will probably just run through these quite quickly because we're reaching an hour now, but let's show you a couple of things. So the first acquisition I'd like to show you, because I don't think it had arrived when I recorded last, is some beautiful yarn by my friend Mel, who is now 3 Cats Yarn. And this is her new logo. So I mentioned before that she was called Down Under Dyer, and now she has rebranded and she is 3 Cats Yarn. Love Mel's stuff. Love Mel. She's an awesome human. And she had a shop update in February. So I had to order things, obviously. And I ended up getting these two. So this is a soft sock base, which is a 75-25 blend, and it is 400 meters to 100 grams. And this is leave room for the pav. If you're in Australia, you know that pavlova is a very popular dessert, especially around Christmas time. And I think this was Mel's Christmas colorway. And I was eyeing it off around Christmas, but I was trying not to buy yarn at the time. But I was super excited when I saw that she still had some in stock. So I had to get my hands on a skein. So that is that one. And this is the Magnolia mini set. So there are 4 beautiful colorways in there. This is a 4 skein, 25 gram per skein mini set. So there are 25 grams in each of these minis. And I was thinking when I ordered this that I would put this in my granny stripe blanket, which I'm not going to show you today because I haven't worked on that in a little while. Mainly because I hadn't shown you these things yet. But at the same time, I'm wondering, do I maybe pair it with this, because I actually think they look really nice together. I'm undecided. It will be what it will be, but I needed to have my hands on these things. So that is an acquisition from these last few weeks, months. Now the other thing I wanted to show you, and there have been quite a few different acquisitions. I'll show you my Yarnable haul from the last 3 months as well, because again, things arrived after I recorded last. So I'll show you the last 3 months worth of colorways. So this was the February Yarnable colorway, and that's called Raspberry Cream. Very Valentine's Day inspired, and a very beautiful one. Now all of these are going to be on the 85-15 Superwash Merino nylon blend, 437 yards to 100 grams. So that's February's colorway. This is March's colorway, and it's called Shenanigans. Again on the plush sock base. Beautiful mildly speckled base. Now this did come with a small green mini, but I don't have that accessible right now. So yeah, very pretty, and a pattern for a gnome, which I'm very intrigued about. I saw Maddie from the We Share Needles podcast made one, and I think Kristen may have as well. And I'm tempted, very tempted. I've never made a gnome before. I know Lucy from This Nanny Knits has also, I think, made some gnomes recently. I think that was her. So yeah, I'm quite intrigued by the idea of making a gnome. And the last colorway is the April colorway, and this one is called Mermazing. So this is again the same base, and you can see the different colors through there. Another beautiful color. So they're the 3 yarnables that have come through recently in the mail. It seems like all of the mail systems are starting to catch up finally. And I also got a Desert Vista Dye Works parcel last week. So I'll show you all the backlog of mail from 2021 that only just arrived in April, which is madness. But that's the way that shipping has gone the last year or so. So are you ready? I have a lot of skeins. That's a lot of different colorways there. So they're all on the Viso base except for this one. Whoops, and I'm dropping them all now, of course. So this is on the DK weight base, and this is Metallic Holiday. I ordered this one last year hoping to cast it on over Christmas, but then all the shipping issues happened and it arrived this year, so I might cast it on for Christmas this year. And I specifically ordered a DK weight because I find DK weight socks go faster. So my memory card just ran out of storage, so I'm not quite sure what I was saying before I was rudely cut off, but Desert Vista Dye Works yarn. Let's get back into that. So okay, I'm going to go through this quickly. We have Happy Girlfriend's Day. We have the January Snow. We have WandaVision. I'm not going to be able to hold these up. And we have Cerebria. Now these were all purchased last year using the discount codes that I accumulated throughout the 7th annual Desert Vista Monthly Sock Club. I think I got it right that time. So that some of these were ordered back in June in 2021. That's taken a while to get here, but they're here now, so that's exciting. I'm pretty much set for the rest of 2022's Desert Vista Dye Works yarn. I may just need one more skein. I think I'm one short to meet this year's monthly requirement. And then the last thing that I got, because I participated last year in the Desert Vista Dye Works Monthly Sock Club, I was eligible for the free, what's it called, exclusive skein from Desert Vista Dye Works that she dyes specifically for the people that participate in the sock club. And you may have seen this on other people's channels. I know Kristen from Do So Knits has already shown hers, for example. And I think there's someone else too, I can't remember now. But what we received was a double knit sock blank. You can see all the beautiful colours there. And I have seen some people starting to knit this up, and it knits up more variegated than stripy, which is a bit exciting. And this is the 66th of 92. That's the other person who I've seen with this, Lisa from 72 Stitches. I'm pretty sure she got it as well. So I've got number 66 of 92. So 92 people in 2021 knit a pair of socks each month using Desert Vista Dye Works yarn. And I was one of those 92 people, apparently the 66th person. So that's a bit exciting. And the last things I want to show you are a couple of things that have arrived that I need to go grab. Just give me a second. So I have mentioned on Instagram that I went to a yarn retreat in March, and I don't want to talk about that here. I have a vlog that I am yet to finish editing and posting that I will share everything about that yarn retreat within. But I did want to show you one of the lovely things that I purchased from there that you might find interesting, and I certainly have been loving, and I've worn it once. So this is by the Sweater Collective, who is an Adelaide designer, Adelaide-based designer. Her name is Jessica, and she is so super friendly, but she has recently started selling stitch marker necklaces, and I had to get one. And I got the one with the little monstera leaf, and I love it. So I thought I'd show you that because I thought that was absolutely adorable and something a bit different. I did purchase some other things at that retreat, a little bit of yarn, a couple of project bags, but I'll show you in the vlog for that one. And the other thing that has arrived this week that I haven't actually opened yet, so I thought I'd open it with you, is a project bag by local Australian maker Moran. And I'm pretty sure this is Sam. Yep, so Sam, thank you so much for the beautiful packaging. I thought it would be fun to open it up with everyone. So, I mean, I know what's in here. I ordered it. I can't help myself, and you'll see why shortly. Sorry about the crinkling. It's as perfect as I imagined it would be. So, it is a coffee-themed project bag. Because all the coffee, every day. So there's some beautiful little coffee bits on there. And it's a beautiful bag. Oh, and she's popped something inside, which is lovely. Oh, she's popped that inside as well with a little button there. Isn't that cute? And a tea bag. I love a bit of tea as well. Coffee, tea, all the beverages, especially coming into winter here. So yeah, I thought I'd just show you that. That's the last thing I'm going to show you today. As I said, I'll cover all of the things I acquired at the knitting retreat in the vlog that will go up in a few weeks, I think. So that is all. That is all the knitting, that is all the making, that is all the purchasing. And as you can see, a lot of those purchased items weren't necessarily purchased recently. Certainly the Desert Vista Dye Works purchases are all from last year. I haven't actually bought anything from there this year, but I'm counting it to this year's acquisitions, which seems a little bit mean. My stats are looking really bad right now. But it's okay. It's all in fun, and I love everything that I have here. It's very exciting, and it keeps me very motivated. So, thank you so much for watching today. I will just move on to a little bit of life stuff, maybe a few books that I've read that I've really enjoyed. But if you're just here for the knitting, I really appreciate you coming and spending some time with me. Thank you so much. It means the world to me. Okay. So life stuff. Life has been a lot. When I spoke to you in February, I mentioned that work was quite full on, and that has not changed. That has been a big reason why I haven't recorded. The weekends have just been a decompress period, and making has has been what's been making me happy and able to sort of reset after very busy weeks at work. However, I may have mentioned we were undergoing a restructure, and that restructure was implemented in late March. So we are now a month into the restructure. But in the meantime, I applied for another job, and I will be starting that in about a week's time. So the last few weeks have been really busy setting up my new team and working on a handover with my replacement, which has been a lot. So yes, I'm very excited about this new opportunity. I'm not quite sure about anything at the moment. I don't know what my schedule will look like at this point in time. I think that I will be very busy learning a new role, but I'm very excited about the challenge that will bring. I'm very sad to be leaving my team behind, especially the last few months as we've been preparing for this transition. It's been just that they've just been amazing people to work with, super supportive, and yeah, it's going to be different not working with that group of people, because I'll be working in a very different area moving forward, which again is full of excitement and anticipation, but also I'm a little nervous, I must admit. So that's the work stuff. When I've not been working or making, I've been trying to live a little bit healthier lifestyle. So I've been putting a little bit more emphasis on exercise, and that has its good weeks and its not so good weeks. So I a little irregular with my exercise, but I'm definitely doing more now than I have done in the last year, which is a good thing. I went for a walk this morning for an hour with the dog, and I really very rarely do that. But one of my motivators, I think, is doing workouts at home that are video led, which is good. I can do that at any time around the busy schedule that we have, and that's been a lot of fun. I do the 28 by Sam Wood workouts, which are guided workouts, 28 minutes of your time a day, and they focus on different parts of your body each day, which is really nice. You definitely feel the burn after a couple of days, and that is always satisfying, really, because it means you're actually doing something. And yeah, that's been good. I've been really enjoying doing that. I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks, so I finished I think 3 or 4 in the last few weeks. It's been quite addictive, and I've been following some recommendations from my fellow podcasters and have really enjoyed the books that I've been reading. So Needles at the Ready podcast mentioned The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. The author of that is V.E. Schwab, I think. I'll put it on the screen if it's not correct. And oh my gosh, amazing book. Really, really enjoyed that book. I think I also heard on their podcast about The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. Now, I love Matt Haig. I read, which one did I read of his earlier? I read one of his other books a couple of years ago now. Oh my gosh, how can I have forgotten the title? That's not right. Completely forgotten the title. Either way, I've read one of his books before, and this was just as engaging and satisfying a read. Matt Haig is a very inspirational writer. I do really enjoy his style of writing and the insights he gives in his books about people, life, mental health, a little bit of all of it. It's a very, very enjoyable read. The other one that I have finished reading is A Court of Thorns and Roses, I believe. Now, I'm going to double check that because I'm not great at the titles. Throne of Glass, sorry. I have read A Court of Thorns and Roses. I read that a couple of years ago, and I quite enjoyed that first book, but couldn't quite get into the second one. Now, that is by author Sarah J. Maas. And this book was recommended by Nicole of Professor Pearl podcast. And yeah, it's Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. And really, really enjoyed that one too. A slightly different storyline concept to The Court of Thorns and Roses. And yeah, it was a relaxing read. I really enjoyed reading that while I was knitting on the Celaena socks. Now, I forgot to mention when I was talking about these that the Celaena socks were inspired by Nicole reading those books. So the main character is Celaena in that series, and she's a very strong woman character, strong female character even. And yeah, I enjoyed reading that book while knitting on that test knit. So that was great. And then I'll just talk to you about a couple of movies that I've been watching with the kids. They're currently on school holidays, and so we try to have a movie night regularly when they're on school holidays because it's a little bit more relaxed. We're not so fussed about them being in bed later. And last weekend we watched The Adam Project with Ryan Reynolds and Jennifer Garner, and I really enjoyed that movie. I really do like Ryan Reynolds. I find him quite hilarious, but this book showed still a very funny side, but I guess a more sensitive side of him as well, which is nice. And did I say book? This movie. This movie showed a different side of Ryan Reynolds, which is always lovely. And then for, some comedic relief, another night we watched Thunder Force with Melissa McCarthy and Jason Bateman. I love Jason Bateman. Anything he's in, I tend to enjoy. He's just one of those funny actors. And Melissa McCarthy is one in a million. Absolutely adore her in everything I've seen her in. So those were a couple of movies we've watched, and they were both on Netflix. Now, I did take my younger son and my niece to the cinema yesterday. Yesterday was Sunday here. Well, it was Sunday everywhere. Jeez. Yesterday was Sunday, and I took the kids to the cinema and we saw Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which was quite fun as well. They really enjoyed it. I knit on my sock, the not rainbow. I've buried everything now. That's really convenient. The Silly Socks by Hobbii. I knit on those while we were in the cinema, and that was a lot of fun. And yeah, I'm sure there's other life stuff that I've been meaning to tell you, but I can't think of those things now. But I guess the other thing to mention is a knit along that I'm trying to join into but keep getting sidetracked with new projects, and that is the Needles at the Ready Spring Mal 2022. So it's like a spring cleaning make along. Any projects you have that are a bit older, and I can't remember the exact parameters of it, but any older projects that you're trying to get off of your hooks, off of your needles, you're encouraged to work on those to get them finished. And that is hosted by Kevin and Ray of the Needles at the Ready podcast. And the hashtag is NATR Spring Mal 2022. There are some other make-alongs that I'm participating in. There's one that I mentioned in my last episode, which is the Stash Down 2022 Mal, can't remember, make-along, and that is hosted by Bernadette Makes. I think that's correct. It was all linked in my previous episode if you want to check that out. I think I will leave that there. I've been talking for a long time. It is now 2 p.m. and I think I sat down just after 12:30 maybe. So I'm going to finish it off there. I thank you so much for joining me today yet again. I know it's been a big gap between episodes, and I fear that that's sort of going to be what this certainly first half of the year is going to be like. I suspect the next time I will record will probably be around the June long weekend that we have here, so early June. So I'll give you a summary of what happened in May then. I'm hoping I can record then. That's just over a month away, so that's not too bad. I certainly don't want to leave it another 2 to 3 months. I think that was a little excessive. Yeah, 2 months, February to April, yeah. Either way, I look forward to chatting with you again soon. Thank you so much, and I hope you're having an amazing day and your crafting is making you happy and allowing you to have a bit of downtime from life. And I will talk to you again soon. Thank you. Bye. This is so bitsy today. It's going to be so many cuts. Lucy from, oh my gosh, Nanny.